Stand up and fight for SnyderVerse on July 11th. Fight for our SnyderVerse on the Imposter Superman release day.
You need to be locked up! Away from decent, normal people!
So as you all may know, I was a huge advocate for Zack Snyder and the Snyder Cut. Like many, I was already a fan of his previous films, and very much liked the BVS and Man of Steel. Definitely wasn't a popular opinion at the time, and hell, it kinda still isn't. But like most of the world, I was disappointed by 2017's Justice League. But a few years later, when rumblings of an alternate version of the movie creeped its way online, I dove headfirst into it and started following it. And once it was confirmed to be happening, I covered it extensively. I was so excited and committed that I followed every bit of news, every interview, covered the online discussions and arguments, and I even got merch. Even after the movie's release, I stayed covering it and talking about the feedback online from fans and audiences. And of course, you know I had to get the Blu-ray. Needless to say, I was all in. But after hearing that Warner Bros. And DC were not going to be continuing the SnyderVerse as it's called, I was disappointed, but ultimately just accepted it and moved on. Hell, I even remember covering this weird campaign to move the SnyderVerse over to Netflix. And I basically explained that that's just not going to happen. But I saw that Snyder himself was very busy over at Netflix with his Rebel Moon movies. So, much like him, I just kind of moved on. I still very much love these movies. But saying that Warner Bros. And DC weren't going to be following up on any of it, and that Snyder himself was busy and clearly not coming back, I figured it wasn't worth dwelling on and just moving on to other things. So for a few years now, I've just been out of the loop to what's even been happening with this fandom, because I assume that most people also just kind of moved on. But then I saw this headline and the article attached, and my attention was piqued. There are still remnants of this fandom online, and it kind of turned into a bit of a punching bag for people to point and laugh at for being obsessed and refusing to move on. So what I want to do is just take a look and see what's even going on at Ground Zero, the SnyderCut subreddit. This is where the post from the article came from, and we'll talk about that in a sec. But I also just want to just generally browse to see what's actually going on over there. So in this video, I'll discuss my findings, and then talk about the SnyderVerse as a whole. So let's get into it.
Damn, I'm on my Britney shit. Oops, I hit again. Damn, I'm on my DJ Khaled shit. We the best.
So the first thing I want to talk about is this post about boycotting the new James Gunn Superman movie, which is the post that was featured in the article because James Gunn reacted to it. This sparked my attention to make this video, but even before this, a viewer of mine brought the subreddit to my attention and suggested that I look into it. So things seem to be going down there for a while before the headlines. But let's talk about this post first. On the surface, it seems petty. If you don't want to see the new Superman movie, that's fine. You do you. But to try to make it some sort of movement or event just seems kind of odd. So naturally, people pointed and laughed and said things like cope and move on. And of course, many people on the internet will use this post as an example of Snyder fans being unwilling to move on and call them toxic. But after doing some research, by that I mean I made a post asking what the hell is going on. I was told that this guy was a well-known troll who often poses as a Snyder fanboy just to get reactions. Now I want to verify this by going to the guy's account, but not only has the post been deleted, but I can't find the account anywhere now. So I guess maybe it's true, considering he just up and deleted his entire account. Though I want to put a pin in this and come back to it later, because it seems like, okay, this guy was very toxic, clearly probably trolling, so they up and just ousted him, you know? But then we're going to see examples later on that kind of challenge this notion. So we'll come back to that. But for now, here are the other things that I found in this subreddit. Honestly, it's mostly normal at a glance. It's really mostly just talking about Snyder and his movies, obviously, along with some general DC related stuff. But after you do some scrolling, that's when you start to see the shady stuff that you hear rumors about. Basically, there's a bunch of bitter posts about James Gunn and the new Superman movie. Some of them are in the forms of memes, others just talking about news articles and headlines, and some of them just posting rants. But this is the stuff people are talking about when they say Snyder fans are toxic and can't move on, and all they do is just like to bitch. And it's almost hard to disagree when you hear stuff like that, because just looking at this stuff, it just seems very bitter. And it's just so strange seeing things like this being okay to post on the subreddit when the boycott James Gunn movie was taken down, supposedly, because honestly, they're kind of on the same level. I mean, these posts really aren't that different from each other. So are there a bunch of pissed off fans? Yeah, clearly. But it's just odd that that one post gets deleted, then all these get to stay. Like, I found all these posts in like 10 minutes. It didn't take that long at all. Now, what definitely doesn't help is that I saw other posts from different subreddits pointing out some of the unhinged stuff that Snyder fans have posted, like this image here. Then after scrolling through the comments, I saw people claim that there was a mod in the SnyderCut subreddit who posted this message, basically saying, yeah, we're gonna bash James Gunn's movie. Let's do it. So I wanted to find this account to see what else they posted, and even though they're listed as a mod on the SnyderCut subreddit, the account appears to be deleted. And even though this person may be gone, it seems this mentality has carried over to several different users. And now I want to talk about the infighting amongst the fandom. So when you see all these posts, clearly they're okay to post in the subreddit apparently, but when you go to the comments section, it's mostly people just arguing with each other, showing that the loud people who just really hate James Gunn and the new Superman seem to be the minority, because even in the comment section of their own post, they get downvoted a lot, and it seems people are literally telling them to chill out. So even amongst the Snyder fans, these people are considered very toxic. But here's the sad reality. Right now, these people are still kind of the minority, but considering the fact that most of the Snyder fandom moved on years ago, people like this have grown to be more and more prominent, and pretty soon will be the majority of what's left of the fan base. And unfortunately, they do most of the posting on the subreddit apparently, and their posts get the most engagement, so this is what the majority of the people from the outside are going to see. And I guarantee, pretty soon, these will be the only people left on this subreddit, just making bitter post after bitter post, just bitching. And I do want to reiterate that these people are looked down upon, but the issue is, a lot of Snyder fans just simply moved on and just don't want to engage with them. So the voices of these people just get louder and louder, and pretty soon they will be the only voices left. And they'll be there just to reinforce every single rumor and stereotype about a Snyder fan or cultist that you see online.
Get a life.
Now, I want to take a look at the rules of this subreddit real quick. Some of them are very simple, you see everywhere. No spamming, no low effort posts, etc. But then rule number 3 is a very interesting one. No negativity towards Zack Snyder fans. And when you read it, it basically tells you that criticizing people for being Zack Snyder fans is not allowed. Making negative generalizations about Snyder fans is not allowed. Referring to one or more Snyder fans with a disparaging term, such as a bot, cult, crazy, etc. is not allowed. Concern trolling, lecturing Snyder fans, or telling Snyder fans to move on is not allowed. Claiming that Snyder fans are disliked or have a bad reputation is not allowed. Complaining about the sub existing or about Reddit recommending it to you is not allowed. You know, on one hand, I kind of get it. You don't want randoms coming into the subreddit spamming things like you suck, Snyder sucks, move on, cope, stuff like that. But at the same time, it just feels like it's just there to filter out people who don't exactly align or agree with them. It just gives the impression that they're not open to criticism or to really hear anybody else out. But if you want to make dozens of posts bashing James Gunn or other DC related projects, yeah, by all means go for it. That's definitely not toxic at all. What's kind of funny is there's a whole other subreddit called OK Buddy Snyder Cult that was founded for people who broke Rule 3 specifically. And this subreddit mostly exists just to make fun of Snyder fans, mainly the SnyderCut subreddit. But they also showcase some of the unhinged stuff that people post on Twitter as well, which I'm thankful for because I haven't had a Twitter account in years, and I was curious what was happening over there. But no surprise, it's the same thing that's happening on the SnyderCut subreddit. Only difference is, it can be seen by a lot more people thanks to retweets and likes and such. And thus, it just keeps reinforcing the perception that people have had about the fandom forever now. And just like Reddit, these are definitely the most vocal members, and pretty soon they're going to be the only members.
Is this you?
I would go into more detail, but honestly, what's the point? The further I dig, the more toxic, bitter, and angry posts I just keep finding. The Snyder fandom mostly disbanded and moved on a while ago when Warner Bros. Announced they would be rebooting the DC universe. Hell, I know I did, along with several others that I made connections with through this fandom. And the only people that are left are those who just really like his movies and talking about them, and those who hate everything that isn't from Snyder and spend their time ranting and complaining about everything that's different. Unfortunately, at this state, the latter is basically the face of the fandom, given the perception that Snyder fans are angry, bitter, and toxic fanboys. And sadly, that seems like that's what's mostly left. Though I do want to reiterate that I've met some pretty awesome people through this fandom, and they aren't like this at all. And if you go to the comment sections of these posts, there's a lot of people who vocally disagree. But unfortunately, it's just become a whole bunch of infighting at this point. And I predict that the few sane members that are left are just gonna leave, leaving the most unhinged and deranged fans just to argue and shout amongst themselves. It sucks to see what this fandom has become. It's mostly just in shambles. At its peak, it definitely wasn't this bad, and most of the crazies were able to get drowned out by those who just actually had a level head. But clearly all those people have moved on, and well, this is what we're left with. Honestly, it's just some sad shit. But it is what it is. And that's gonna do it for the video. I don't got shit else to say, so see ya.
Where's the dog?
You'll get your dog when you fix this damn door!